Hey there, good morning. Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with this week's stocks to watch for trading and investing. I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Before I get into the list of stocks to watch for trading and investing, I want to talk about the blog. Make sure you go to the blog. I've got a lot of good information in there this week. Give you my take on some individual sectors. You get to see a recent trade, one that I took before any of the chat rooms, day traders, anybody that was even looking at it. HEAR was a fantastic trade. I'll give you a breakdown there and give you a list of a few things to keep an eye on for next week. Breakdown of some individual sectors and the performance of last week's list of stocks to watch for the pro members, as well as the economic calendar and a earnings calendar for next week. So a lot of good information there. You don't have to sign up to become a full member to get this sent directly to your email each and every week. Just sign up, put your email in, and you'll get it sent to your email every Sunday. So make sure you check that out. All right, so I'm going to give you a sample of this week's stocks to watch for trading and investing off of the pro list that I'll be sending out shortly. But let's go ahead and get started. Take a look there. ACBFF. This is a cannabis stock. Actually, one of the other pro members brought this up in the chat room this week, and I really like the setup here. It's been holding support here right around the 540, 550 area, and it's sitting right on top of the 200-day moving average, where it's finding a little bit of support. And I think we may have a cannabis stock that is going to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that happens this week, but if it does, and it's a good if it's a good IPO, that could give a pretty good lift to the entire space. So I think it's worth keeping an eye on ACBFF for a break. It's flirting with a 6 roll. You're going to have likely some resistance in the $7 area, but I think where we have the 50-day moving average. But I think if we can take that out with some conviction, we may get an 8 test on this, and that's a pretty good move from where it currently sits. So stochastic starting to curl up. I think it's worth having on the radar for a potential day trading opportunity, maybe even a higher risk swing, but worth keeping an eye on ACBFF. I mentioned on the blog, home builders, we get new home sales, existing home sales numbers this week. We also get a earnings report from Toll Brothers. So if Toll Brothers reports good earnings, there is a possibility that we get a sympathy play out of BZH. I happen to like BZH. It's potential double bottom here, short-term double bottom, stochastic curling up. They actually reported good earnings, had a pop, and then pulled back. Now, I can tell you what I don't like about the sector or this particular stock is I do not like the death cross. We've got the 50-day that has crossed below the 200-day, and that I am not real crazy about. But we're coming up into the spring. Typically that is the hottest time for selling homes, and we'll have to see what Toll says from their call and what kind of guidance they provide. But BZH could be a decent sympathy play. It's not a very big, thick stock. It's only got 31.5 million shares in the float. Looking for it to potentially test 16, take that out. That would take out the 50-day. Maybe you get a pop up into the $18 range, $17.50, $18. Come up into the backside of the 200-day moving average, and maybe it finds some resistance there. But that's still a pretty good move for Beazer Homes. And then if it takes out the 200-day, could get really interesting. But worth having on the radar, more for a swing, at least for me. Bezon. Love this name. Love it for a long-term hold considerations. Barron's actually put out, I guess, a piece suggesting that this could be a good way to play digital commerce in China. Besides Baba, it's another opportunity. And now their comps, they've been killing it. Their comps are going to get more challenging going forward, but I still like this one as a long-term hold possibility. Now, it just reported earnings and popped, broke out over an area of price resistance. Now, we could see it come down and test the $50 area, see if that holds as support. Maybe we flag out here. What I'd really love to see is it pull back into the $44 area, $44, $45 area. That would be an ideal place for me to take it for a swing or long-term hold starter. But it may not. It may not pull that far back. So maybe on a pullback to $50, you look for a bounce off there, a nice scalp opportunity or day trade. On a swing, maybe a pullback into the $45, $46 area. See if that area holds for a swing or long-term hold consideration. But could be a day trading opportunity as well. It does get some range. I think it's worth having on your radar. It's testing all-time highs. Beautiful looking chart. It's not overbought. Good volume. Lots of liquidity to be able to get in and out of Bison. Definitely worth having on the radar. IRTC. This has got a great look on the daily time frame. Lower left, upper right. Just take a look at this. Nice trend here. Just kind of broke out over potential flat top breakout. Consolidated right on top of what was resistance, now acting as support. And then Friday, we got a little bit of a pop, taking out the $70 holla, flirting with the $71 holla. You know, maybe you look for this to pull back to the $69 area. I don't know when these guys report earnings or if they reported earnings. Make sure you check that out. This has only got 21 million shares in the float. It's a pretty tiny float, but trades pretty good volume, 465,000 shares. So worth keeping an eye on this. It's testing all-time highs. You're in blue sky territory with IRTC. Just back this out to the weekly time frame, and you can actually see how nice the consolidation was on the weekly time frame. It is approaching overbought, but things can stay overbought. So, like I said, flirting with all-time highs, small float, nice pop on Friday. Maybe you get a red to green move. Could be a day trading opportunity. Could be a higher risk swing. Worth having on the radar for IRTC. Let's move on to the next one. SE. So this is a recent IPO. It's an electronic gaming and multimedia play. So it broke over this trend line, longer term trend line on Thursday and Friday of last week. Actually Wednesday popped. And then it held right on top of the 100 EMA. Flirting with the $13 holla. You know, look, maybe you look for this to do a red to green, a pullback. Maybe we put in a nice little flag pattern here this week. Decent volume, 2.8 million shares. Now, this is not a thin stock. It's got 137.7 million shares in the float. So it's actually a little bit thicker of a stock. I think potentially we get a test up into the $14 area. Like I said, look for a red to green, maybe a pullback to $12.25, $12.50, somewhere in that area. Possibly get a pullback all the way back to $12. That could be an interesting spot to take it for a bounce. Could be a day trade, could be a swing. Worth having on your radar. QTNT. Now, this one had a nice pop on Friday. It's flirting with the 6 roll. I love round number rolls. Now, if we back this, it had a big volume on. This only got 26.8 million shares in the float. Traded 5.2 million shares on Friday. So good volume, good relative volume. Stochastic starting to curl up. Let's back this out to the weekly time frame. And what are we looking at here? We've got a downward trend line, a big long-term downward trend line that we are taking out. So this could be the beginning of a trend reversal. This could be a higher risk swing, could be a potential long-term hold if you do your due diligence and look into the company, make sure they're not in dire need of cash or something like that. But had a little PR on Friday. They have earnings coming up on the 29th, I believe. So with earnings coming up, maybe you get a red to green, you get a nice trading opportunity out of this. I wouldn't probably hold this into earnings. And if you do, you just hold a little lotto piece after you've taken some profit. But I really like the way it consolidated here just underneath the 50-day moving average. Nice pop, good volume on Friday. I think it's worth having on the radar for next week. And that's it. That's the sample list of stocks that I have for the pro members this week. I've got a pretty decent list of stocks, or actually, I've got a pretty significant list of stocks. A lot of biotech names that have really good looking setups. A couple of names that I think could be interesting because of the Supreme Court ruling on gaming. And a few other names that a couple of snapback bounce play opportunities, and I think it's going to be an interesting week. Look, we could continue to be choppy. It's been very choppy, but I think the news out of from the U.S. and China, that could be good for the markets. And we'll see how it plays out. All right. Have a fantastic week next week. Good luck trading. Make sure you go check out the blog. Sign up to get it sent to your email every week. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week.